What is up, guys? Isaac here. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to see what's hot on the internet today. I've been having so many requests via email, sometimes in the comment section on the YouTube channel, to do a reaction on Andrew Tate. People seem to be really fascinated by this guy. They want to know is he legit? What do I think about his philosophies? Should you follow this guy? How did he make his money? His thoughts on women and this type of stuff. They want my take on it, so I'm going to give it to you. We're going to look at my screen. We're going to analyze Andrew Tate. And if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, he's really blowing up right now on the internet. So if you go on Google Trends, it's basically a website that shows you how viral something is, how searched for it is currently. You type in Andrew Tate, the British kickboxer is blowing up. He's getting millions of followers on Instagram, YouTube. It's just popping up everywhere on social media. I remember I would see some of his videos a while back when he had about 70,000 subscribers. He actually had less subscribers than my channel when I was watching him. And then all of a sudden, boom, he just blew up and has got millions. I'm going to talk about that strategy that he's been using, by the way. My opinion on how he grew as well. So compare Andrew Tate to someone like Mr. Beast, a well-known person, and you can see that he's currently getting searched more than Mr. Beast. Compare him to someone like Joe Rogan, and you can see that he's getting searched more than Joe Rogan, almost as much as Joe Rogan when he had that crazy scandal to do with ivermectin and whatnot. And keep in mind, this is some random guy from Romania, some random kickboxer from Romania. So this is quite incredible. A lot of people compare him to Dan Bilzerian. So let's see how Dan Bilzerian is doing relative to Andrew Tate. So Dan Bilzerian is all the way down here. Look at that. He's barely getting searched. Let's remove Joe Rogan. Let's remove Mr. Beast. And see in the past 5 years. So this is when Dan Bilzerian really popped off, I believe, sometime 2016. Could even go further back than that. And you can see that Tate has gone more exposure than Dan Bilzerian did in such a short amount of time. So it's insane. It's insane. And the reason he's popular like this is because he's incredibly polarizing. He talks a lot of shit. Some of the shit he says is correct, in my opinion, is right. Some of it is... But we're going to talk about it. And what better way than watching a podcast with him? I watched a little bit of this podcast, but luckily someone put together some timestamps so we can go to the juiciest bits. So let's start off with the stuff about girls that everybody seems to care about so much, this red pill stuff or whatnot, and analyze that. I'll give you my take. Cheating. Let's see what he says about cheating.
Sweet. So what is the cheating code in Andrew Tate's books? How do you morally cheat if you have a girl? You're honest with her, you're upfront with her?
It's not even about that, because when I say it on these podcasts, I have to condense everything. I have to be very compendious, and I have to try and...
Or how does one, not Andrew Tate, how does one morally
It's
cheat?
just about understanding and instilling a mental frame inside of the female that makes her understand that it's really not that big a deal. That, coupled with your status and the fact that you're hard to replace, will make you be able to get away with it. And when I say get away with, I don't even mean get away with. It can be a very honest and open thing. I'm telling you, man, most men would be surprised by how deviant women are. If you have a woman and you're truly cool, and you're truly together, and she truly loves you, you come home. Have you been out? You fucked that bitch. I did fuck that bitch. You know what? I fucked her, but her tits are not as good as yours. Come here.
All right, the question the guy asked was pretty stupid. He said, how do you morally cheat? That's a bit of an oxymoron, a bit of a contradiction there. You see, when it comes to this type of stuff, I don't have an issue with people having multiple partners or whatnot, if that's your thing, polygamy. I think cheating is ethically wrong. And if you want to have that type of lifestyle where you have multiple women, the best thing you can do is be transparent from the beginning. And what Andrew Tate's trying to say here is, if you are a certain type of guy, maybe you have lots of money, you're really good looking, you got a lot of status or whatnot, you can get away with it. But you don't technically have to get away with it at that stage. You can just be transparent and say, hey, these are the terms and conditions of this relationship. If you want to go along this ride, go along this ride. If you don't want to be a part of this ride, don't be a part of this ride. Right? You can do that. You don't have to have as much money as Andrew Tate or whoever to set those parameters. You can actually set those parameters way earlier if that's your thing, right? So Neil Strauss talks about this. He had a book called The Truth, he was talking about polygamy and these types of what's it called? I don't know, these types of relationships. And he basically had a harem of women. He broke up with his girlfriend and he tried living in a house with all these women, and it didn't go well. It wasn't what he expected. But that's something you can do if you want to do that. Personally, I'm a fan of monogamous relationships, and I'll tell you why I like monogamous relationships over something like a poly relationship. Human beings are very complex, they're very deep. And for you to really go to the depths and understand someone, you need to spend time with them and you need to develop the relationship. You need to work on your traumas together to get into deeper and deeper, more fulfilling levels of the relationship. When you're in a poly relationship, it increases in complexity tenfold. Just having someone else in the relationship, the dynamic changes because it's not just your relationship with the two different girls or whatever, it's also their relationship together. So it exponentially gets more complex, and it takes a lot of social, intelligence to be able to navigate that situation, which most people don't have. Personally, I'm not a fan. I don't look down on people that do that. Go for it, but my advice is just be honest, have integrity. You don't want to be sneaking around and doing things behind the scenes and worrying about if you get caught, because then the relationship becomes transactional. This person's only putting up with this type of stuff because of your status. If Andrew Tate somehow was to, lose his money or whatnot, some of these girls that were on his team would leave because they were just putting up with it because of the status. So if you want true, meaningful relationships, transparency, honesty is good, as cliche as that sounds.
It's an example.
That's good. No, that's a good line.
But I'm talking about the mental framing. If a woman gets with a man and his frame is correct, that woman over a long enough period of time has the same political views, likes the same music, likes the same movies, has the same friends as him, watches the same things on YouTube, the same Netflix shows. If you see a woman who loves that man, doesn't she do everything the man does? So if that man truly believes and can explain to her in a sensible way, look, I love you, I take care of you, I pay your fucking rent.
Yeah, it's true. Given enough time, of course, your woman would gain some of your values and beliefs, but it also goes the other way. You gain some of the values and beliefs of the women as well. So it's kind of like an energy exchange when you're in a deep relationship or a long-term relationship. Both people's mindsets change depending on the relationship. If it's just a superficial relationship, then no, what he's saying doesn't really make sense. Let's move on. What men are attracted to? Religion. Let's go religion. Let's see. The whole red pill stuff's kind of boring to me, so we'll skip that and go to religion.
What's your thought on Islam and everything? Because I know in the Quran and stuff, like you could have up to 4 wives and stuff. So I've seen you talk about it a little bit, but I would like to know like what you think about it.
I think it's the last religion on the planet.
You think it's the right religion?
I think it's the last religion. So if it's the last true religion on the planet, then it has to be the correct one. Because I don't think
How is it the last one?
It's the last religion because no other religion has boundaries which they enforce. If you will tolerate everything, then you stand for nothing. If your book says X, but you refuse to say the book says this, I'm sick to what the book says. Doesn't matter what the subject is, right? I don't want to get us banned. I think everyone can work it out. If you're a Christian, 99% of Christians are ignoring every single rule inside the Bible every single
Christians
day.
interpret the Bible?
Yeah, okay, so he's basically saying that Islam is the last legit religion because Christianity has gone, in his words, to shit. And what he's saying has some merit because when you see people that follow Islam, they tend to be more devout than people that follow Christianity. If you were just to get a random person off the street, I remember I used to have a friend at university, and whenever it was time to pray, I believe Muslims pray 5 times a day. It didn't matter what was going on; he would just get down and start praying, like anywhere, everywhere. He was just ready to go. He was about it, and you don't see that type of devotion in a lot of Christians, especially these days. Christianity is becoming a lot more, up for interpretation, whereas I believe Islam still, for the most part, is by the book. And in some cases, you have the extremists, of course, that take everything very literally, eye for an eye. But the average Muslim follow Islam does try to stay there, but not all of them. A lot of them eat some bacon and pork. A lot of them drink. A lot of them do all kinds of crazy shit. I've seen it, especially here in Australia. I don't know what it's like all over the world. They do it in the hush-hush. Ramadan, they're eating McDonald's and, bacon burgers and whatnot. I've seen this shit. And so it's not just about a particular religion where their followers there are correct because they tend to be more strict. I personally have an alternate view of religion where all organized religion is somewhat of a scam, right? I'm not saying believing in God, believing in the creator and this is bad, but organized religions are kind of created to control people. You don't need to go to a certain institution to have a spiritual connection with your creator or with something above you. That's a story for another day. Let's stick to Tate's argument here. He's saying Islam is the last religion. It must be true. Of course, that doesn't mean it's true. But he's saying it's the last religion because Christianity is becoming a lot more open. And he's got a point. Things again kind of blurred. It's that whole debate of men versus women. What is a man? What is a woman? Things getting very airy-fairy. No one knows what is what. The lines getting blurred. And you just live in a crazy world at that stage. Women are different sounds interesting.
I don't mean that in a bad way, right? Because I'm sexist both ways. I try and say this all the time, but no one can seem to fathom it, especially not feminists with their minuscule brains. There are certain things in the world that I only trust men with, and there's certain things in the world that I only trust women with. I'm not talking about superiority, because superiority is field dependent. Men are better at certain things.
What's
Women
the
are better
one
at
thing
certain
you'd
things.
never let a woman do, the top thing a woman you'd never let her do over a man?
Oh, there's loads of things, bro. Loads of things I never
What's the
let
top
women do.
three?
A couple.
I'll tell you the number one thing. So anything that is violence related, women should be nowhere near. So I'll give you an example. My woman is very well trained that if it goes off in the street, she needs to just run and scream. If I say fuck off, leave. And I'll tell you.
All right, so you're saying that anything that has to do with violence or kind of, I guess, that type of physicality, women should not be involved in. You see, I have a friend who's a police officer, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying that he kind of feels nervous when he's around women cops because he's not only taking care of himself, he has to take care of the women as well. And that's nothing to do with being sexist or sexism or anything like that. This is just the real world. When it comes to physicality, there's a night and day difference between men and women. And that doesn't mean that women are inferior. It just means in terms of physicality, things to do with like violence, combat, military, police force, men have a better physiology, a better biology to adapt to those types of fields. And I think Tate continues on this particular segment. I remember watching this saying that, you would want a woman to be a nurse instead of a man. There's certain traits that women thrive in or that they're a lot better than men at. And that's just the truth. He's not wrong here. We can't truly have equality in the world because the sexes are different. I think people are mistaking what equality is, right? Equality means that everybody has an opportunity to kind of make something of themselves. It doesn't mean that everybody can do everything. Someone who's 4 feet tall can't become a professional basketball player. Maybe they can, but it hasn't happened yet, right? That's not fair, but that's reality. They don't have the genetic gifts to do that. Women don't have the genetic gifts to compete with men in physical combat. That's why a lot of these men that have done the whole transgender thing and transferred and metamorphosized into becoming a woman are destroying women at sports and swimming, combat sports, etc. because they have that physicality that women don't. This is common sense, but these days talking like this will get you canceled because people are getting really, really fucking dumb and are kind of getting too sensitive with certain things instead of looking at the reality and say, okay, where do men prosper? Where do women prosper? They just getting very emotional.
Why? I have seen the number of times I've seen a man walking with his chick, some beef goes, the girl tries to get in the way. She doesn't want her man or the fight to happen, get hurt, da-da. I've seen a woman try to get in the way, da-da. Then she turns to her own man, gets hold of his arm, don't, holds his primary weapon when he gets knocked the fuck out. And she's holding on his fucking right hand. Boom, KO, head stomped.
Wow.
Stupid bitch.
Yeah, he's very polarizing. Andrew Tate. So yeah, what you're saying is physicality. There's a 9-day difference. There are, if you want, you can look at this up. There's videos on YouTube of women trying to fight men on the streets and just getting demolished. It's not a fair fight. It's not a fair fight. It shouldn't happen. And a lot of women, because of, I guess, feminism or movies, Captain Wonder Woman and movies like that, think that physically they can take on a man. They kind of they're living in an alternate space now. A lot of people don't know what reality is. A lot of people don't know what violence is. A lot of people don't know what combat is. They don't know what they're capable of or how dangerous situations can be, because a lot of people have been plugged into their bedrooms, like watching Netflix on computer screens. They have no idea what's happening. And this is just another example of that. Getting established in business.
Appreciate that. Can we switch up and talk a little bit more about your businesses? Like the
We
web.
talk about half of them. Some of them, yes.
What about the webcam business?
I'm not even in that. I haven't been in that business for like 6 years.
Hustlers University.
Well, first he said we can talk about half of them. Some of the businesses we can, some we can't. Okay, I think he's talking shit here. I think this is part of his character, the whole kind of having some illegal, shady businesses in the background in Romania. Because the thing is, if you had illegal, shady businesses, you wouldn't even hint at it. You don't want people sniffing around. You don't want the police, the feds, or whatever, getting any sort of idea that you're associated with that stuff. So I think his main business is this Hustlers University here.
Well, I want to know too. Like, when did you really start like popping off with all this shit?
I'm gonna live here. Of my 5 girls, obviously they all kicked off. Who's this bitch? Who's this bitch? Who's this bitch? I'm like, look, you're all mine. Get over it. Talk about money now. This is a higher purpose. But you fucked her. Yeah, I fucked her. Who cares? We're talking about.
All right, so in this particular section, he's talking about his first business that he made serious money. And what he did was he basically flew in some of his girlfriends from across the world. And his brother did the same thing. And they started their webcam business where I guess there were 50-50 partners with the girls, where the girls would, do the thing and make money. And he would get a cut for setting up the whole thing. So far, it's not an illegal business. It's a bit of a sketchy industry to get in, but there's nothing illegal about this since everybody agreed. So, yeah. All right, this bit's a bit sketchy. He's talking about how instead of the girls talking to the guys to make the money, he would take over and pretend to be the girls in order to be more convincing, since he was better at sales than the girls and convincing guys.
So I'm trying to teach these women, and the women kept fucking it up. So I said to them, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking over. So what I did is I unplugged their keyboards and plugged a new one in from me behind the screen. So the chicks would sit there and hit a keyboard that wasn't plugged in. And me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking. The girls were just...
All right, so that's the point where the business goes from being legit to just being a scam. It's basically a scam because the people are getting tricked into thinking that they're talking to women when they're just talking to Tate and his brothers. Unless you have that in the terms and conditions or something on the website, which it probably wasn't, this is just basically a scam.
Pure just famoosers, just laughing and doing this, their titties out, and they were talking to fucking ice cold hustlers. We were taking their money, all of it. And they come and say, well, what kind of, all of it. We were fucking milking them dry. Women haven't got a clue how to famoosa dude. They don't have, because they rely on their looks. They don't.
This reminds me of the Tinder swindler on Netflix, the guy who was, I guess, finessing lots of women for money. This is just the reverse, where him and his boys were finessing guys for money and using women. So this is quite... Yeah, I don't think it's a good business, to be honest.
Have any of the intellect. They have no game, nothing.
There's some, though. There's
nothing.
There's some.
Nah, you get a man with game and give him a female's body, a female avatar. He will fuck a guy up. I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all. So like,
So the thing with Tate is he's a bit of a shock. Like when you research him or you look him up and look at his like upbringing, this basically a street guy. He grew up poor. His dad seemed like a bit of a rough guy himself, and so you kind of develop this rough, rigid mentality, bordering on the line of sociopathy, where you don't have room for empathy for other people. So situations like this are very, very easy to become appealing to you when you don't have empathy. When you look at him, he's able to go in a straight line from A to Z to achieve his goals and not really give a shit about stepping on people's heads and necks. A lot of people find that admirable, but to me, it's a bit sad that he was finessing guys of millions of dollars. Yeah, that's a straight line to making the money, but do you really want, to kind of make money based on something that lacks integrity? I'd rather make money on something that does have integrity, but of course, that's more difficult. Now, the things he's doing now do have integrity. Of course, the hustle is a university, content marketing, all this type of stuff. There's nothing wrong with these types of businesses. But there's a reason he got out of this whole webcam thing, because he knew it was sketchy. He knew it wasn't legit. And in this interview, he's actually someone asked him like if he feels bad. He says he doesn't. But I feel like a part of him does, unless he's a sociopath. And if he's a sociopath, then that's another issue altogether. So what do I think of how he made his initial money? I don't like it. And I don't think you should go for scams like this. Learn high leverage skills, learn something that provides value, look for win-win situations, and you'll make a lot of money. You might not make as much money as Tate here, because he started off with this, sketchy stuff, but you will have a happy and healthy conscience. Let's see what else he has to say.
How did you initially pop off in this recent success? When did it start?
I decided
Content-wise,
I decided to
viral-wise.
go overt with my conquest about 6 months ago.
6 months.
6 months ago.
What was your strategy?
Bro, that's worth billions of dollars. If I were to tell you right now what I've done, that'd be worth. So do you have to understand how many people want to do what I have done?
Yeah.
This is unprecedented. This has never been done before.
It hasn't been
I've
done.
gone from obscure internet figure with a cult following of fans. My fans, because I have my YouTube channel for a while. My guys who follow me from back in the day are like, I am so furious. I used to walk around and say, have you heard of Andrew Tate? And everyone would say no, and I'd tell them what genius you are. Now everyone knows you're a fucking genius.
Okay, let's see if we can uncover his strategy real quick. I happen to have a digital marketing agency, so know a little bit about social media. Oh, wow, look at the views he's getting. He's currently getting 10 million views on his YouTube, at least, per month, which is insane. If you compare, where he started over here, he wasn't really getting as many views. Literally, last year, he didn't have much going. Let's see, detailed statistics. So you can see here, this is his growth, subscriber growth. He's almost at 1 million on YouTube. Last year, I believe when I started seeing his videos popping up, he had less subscribers than me. Wow, this is crazy. And he's blown up. So Tate's strategy, let's see if we can figure out his $1 billion strategy. I remember watching a video by Heza. He was talking about how in his Hustlers University, he has kind of like an affiliate deal where if someone signs up, basically Hustlers University is a membership site where people can learn how to make money online. And one of the business models that he talks about is, of course, affiliate marketing. And affiliate marketing is what happens when, I sell you something. Let's say I sell you this cup here. This cup is $50 with this blackbird right here. And I sell it, you buy it for $50. If I get 10% commission rate, I'll get $5, right? Because 10% of 50 is $5. So you get particular commission. So he's got a thing going where people are trying to learn how to make money, and they can make money by referring his course, Hustlers University. I'm not sure if it's a recurring revenue stream where they make money for the subscription per month, or if it's a one-time fee. Let's take a look. Hustlers University. And this thing's blown off. He's got thousands and thousands of people doing this thing. So if we go Hustlers University affiliate, look, people are running ads. Tate University. I'm not sure if these are his ads, or he says he doesn't pay for ads in this podcast. So these could be different people trying to do it. My friend believes that he can make $1,000 with Andrew Tate. 10% of $5. So what are people saying here? Says Baez are talking about it. All right, anyway, I don't know. So it's probably a small commission that you get. But if you look over here, when you type in Andrew Tate and you go channels, you'll see that there's a shit ton of channels that are not even his. Like there's this channel here, there's this channel, there's all these channels. These are like fan pages. And all these people on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok are creating these fan pages because he's a charismatic character. You know, he says a lot of polarizing things on purpose that are going to get picked up. They're going to get reactions like this video, of course. I'm actually giving him more publicity. People have a shit ton of content that they can use to promote his Hustlers University. So people would just basically rip his content and post on YouTube with the affiliate link to Hustlers University. And there's a lot of people doing reactions too. So he's going to these big podcasts here, and there's a shit ton of people doing reactions to him because, you know, the search traffic is hot for Andrew Tate right now. So he's done a really genius strategy. Let's see if we can see some of these small channels doing this affiliate gig thing. Andrew Tate channel. See one. This one, top secret channel. What's this about?
Business.
Oh wow, this guy seems to be actually leaking his stuff. Anyway, that's his strategy. On Instagram, there used to be a strategy that was very similar. You might recall people would DM you telling you to follow someone. It was called the mother-slave strategy. People still use it. It's basically what he's doing on YouTube, but he doesn't even need to pay for people to create these accounts. People are just creating it and reacting to him based off the fact that his content's very engaging. He's quite a character. He's like a James Bond character. And he's deliberately saying things to piss people off, spike the algorithm, get people arguing in the comment section, boost the engagement. That's probably his strategy. I don't think he was doing anything else. You can clearly see what's happening. I remember Sam Ovens, this internet marketer, used to have people create fan pages as well. So here's Sam Ovens. He's got 103 videos, and people would actually create channels. See, Sam Ovens, my mentor, Sam Ovens fan page, similar to Andrew Tate, but on a smaller scale, and have the affiliate link to his course. So this is a similar strategy here. Let's see if they have. There you go. If you want to do this, you tell us an affiliate link because when you click on this, it says here, invite, blah, 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 blah. So that's an affiliate link. So the people that are pushing Andrew Tate stuff on TikTok, Instagram, whatnot, are probably just teenagers trying to make a little bit of cash. And, you know, it is what it is. It's completely legal, somewhat of kind of like a pyramid scheme type thing, but legal. And I'm not frowning on it. Let's see, modern education.
War room. Then we have Hustlers University. The reason I started Hustlers University is because I was arguing with someone about how pointless the modern education system is. I think the modern education system is nothing but an indoctrination machine. I think they use it to indoctrinate the youth. I think it's a waste of fucking time.
What, to brainwash people?
To brainwash people, of course it is. And it's actually, because I can talk forever, the world's a spider's web, right? Everything extrapolates from everything else. And most people are not capable of understanding that nearly every single idea or habit or lifestyle which is propagated mainstream by the Matrix is done so with a Trojan horse. So even the educational system.
Meaning with a hidden agenda?
With a hidden agenda. So even if you look at things like women's rights, women need rights, women need protecting, women should be equal under law, completely agree.
They said they wanted women to work so people could pay more taxes, no?
They want people to work so they can pay more taxes, double the tax base. But do you know what else they wanted them to work for?
Get the kids out of the...
Get the kids out of the influence of the parents.
All right, so what he said is pretty big there. He said that basically a lot of the things that push in mainstream society are a Trojan horse. And if you don't know what a Trojan horse is, you know, you might have heard of a Trojan virus. It was in Homer's Iliad, I'm pretty sure, or Odyssey. See, Odysseus. Basically, the Trojans hid inside this horse, and it was like a gift horse. It was brought into the city. There's a good scene in Troy. It was brought into the city, and they basically came out and killed all the people in the city. So there's like soldiers in this big horse here, this freaking huge thing. The people of the city of Troy think it's a gift. They're like, oh, awesome, this is amazing, this is great. We have a gift. They live inside the city walls, which were impenetrable, that you couldn't go through. They had like a strong moat, lots of boundaries. It was a citadel, basically. And then people just come out at nighttime and basically slaughter them. So this is the same thing that happens in mainstream society in regards to the education system, in regards to the health system, in regards to a lot of stuff. When it comes to school, it was created primarily to develop good workers. You know, when you think about the things that school teachers use, like submissiveness, thinking in a particular way, they teach you how to think or how to process the questions, and you have to stay within that set boundary. Critical thinking is not really something that's taught in school. If people are taught critical thinking, they'll be taught about cognitive biases, they'll be talked about systems thinking, and all these different things, right? The subconscious mind, trauma, all these different things that allow them to have a bigger, wider perspective. But no, people are taught to route learn, to remember things, remember facts, follow the process. And the same skill sets that you learn or develop during school are used in the workplace, in the workforce. And if you saw what happened in 2020, they became very handy when Big Daddy government came out and said, hey, you know, do this, do that. People just did that and did that. Submitted or relinquished their power to the experts just because they couldn't think for themselves. They never developed the mental capacity to think for themselves, the skill sets or the way to think critically or question things. So they just kind of gave in. And that's the whole point of school. And he mentioned that the point of bringing women to the workforce, one of the reasons was to give the kids to the state, to give the kids to the schooling system. Because if one parent's at home, they could still program the kid. You know, the most important years for programming are between the years of 0 to 7. And a lot of those years are spent in kindergarten, are spent in school. I recently went to a bookstore and I saw a kid's book aimed at children that was talking about someone who became transgender. And obviously this is a particular agenda that's being pushed right now. This whole idea of binary, non-binary, changing genders, transgender this, and they're targeting kids because kids are susceptible, and they're teaching these things at school because that's when people's brains, their subconscious minds are being programmed. It's a lot of deep stuff. I think it went through over a lot of people's heads, but what he's saying here is basically true. The Trojan horse is being told that something is good for you, and it appears to be good on the front end. On the surface, it seems like it's a positive thing, but on the back end, you get destroyed. So to give you an example, people thought that, you know, lockdowns and, you know, staying inside the house was good for them. It seemed like the smart thing to do on the front end, but on the back end now, people are in a huge recession. Inflation's going crazy because people weren't working. The economy wasn't, you know, being stimulated, or was being stimulated by fake fiat money that was getting pumped. It's a Trojan horse. Schooling system, you think you're getting an education. You go to college, you think you're getting some sort of advantage in life, but then you leave with this huge debt. You don't really have skills to adapt to the new world, and you get demolished. So it's a Trojan horse, and I agree with him 100%. See, I don't agree with some of the stuff Andrew Tate says or the way that he says it, but when it comes to stuff to do with society, things that might seem a bit conspiracy theorists, I think he's on the ball.
Right? When the woman's at home and the father's at work, those children are learning from the woman who's probably learning from the father, and you get to instill your own beliefs in those children. Government doesn't want that. Government wants the children to belong to them. So they get the woman out of the house and they send you to school for as long as possible to reprogram you. This is why you will see YouTube videos of children arguing with their parents, and their parents will say that's not true, and the children will say, I learned in school that a man can be a zebra, or whatever they learned.
Well, there you go, exactly what we're talking about. It's all done to reprogram the mind, the subconscious mind. There's a lot of different things that go into it, and we talk about on the channel cognitive biases like social proof. When you see lots of people doing something, you're more likely to do it. So it's kind of like what Charlie Munger calls a Lollapalooza effect. Different things, different mental heuristics, cognitive biases, psychological adaptations that humans have kind of going in at the same time to create a powerful effect. And that's what school is all about. Groupthink, all this stuff, keeping people dumb as shit. Let's see what else he's got going on here. Control structures.
When you say like they want to get the kids out of the schools, who do you think is like that's like some heavy string pulling? Like who do you think is behind that? Like I know people just say it's the government, but but you know what I mean though, to be that smart to say, all right, we're gonna separate kids from their parents so we can take over the minds of the youth. That's like a very smart concept to think of. Do you know what I mean? Like how does someone come up with that? Is that like
Well, this guy doesn't understand who's asking the questions. Like, you're dealing with psychopaths. You're dealing with people that have mastered psychological warfare. You know, people that understand this stuff. Of course, you want to remove the kids because the kids are the future. The kids are the ones that shape the world. You know, if you want to change the world, you don't change the adults. You change the kids. You know, you put the beliefs, the seeds that you want planted in the kids through movies, through music videos, etc., and you will get that world that you basically have planted. You know, you reap what you harvest.
Come up with it because it's natural human nature, right? Like if you have a...
Do you think that's like the government making those decisions?
It's way above the government.
Like that's what I mean. Like who do you think is they?
There are people who've been in charge of the world for quite a long time. And to keep it simple and to make sure this podcast stays up, the people who control the money are going to control the world. Because if you...
He said something very interesting there that you should definitely look into. He said there's people that have controlled the world for a very long time. The people that control the money control the world. So the United States is kind of like the center point in terms of the world, in terms of finances. And if you research who owns the Federal Reserve, you get closer to the truth. There's a lot of ideas and theories about this in terms of how deep it goes, from just kind of corrupt elites all the way to Anunnaki lizard people from Niberia or some other planet. It can get pretty crazy, but there's definitely something deeper going on in the world than just what appears in the surface. This whole idea of a government, you know, you vote for this party, you vote for that party. It always makes me laugh when people talk about, you know, what political side are you, as if it really matters. When you look at any country, especially these Western countries, over a long enough time horizon, you realize that it doesn't matter what political side you are on, everything's exactly the same, regardless. So there's something that's happening in the background. There's people who are pulling strings, pushing their agendas, and you just feel like you have power. Sorry, my camera died, so let me just go back to where we're at. Finishing up here, Western decline.
And there are people who still do it, but I think the world's on a decline. I think the Western world's getting worse. I don't think it's getting any better. I think that all the problems we're seeing now are going to be 10x, 20x, 30x as people get fucking hungry across the next 10, 20 years. And I think if you don't have a plan to defend yourself, or at least move to a place where you don't need to defend yourself in real time, people are going to start getting fucked up back.
What do you think's about to happen? Just complete anarchy?
I don't think it's going to be complete anarchy, but there's going to be a
lot of crime.
There's going to be a massive polarization. The polarization already exists, right? In Western nations, there's already a polarization because there's no longer any morality which is built into the populace. I live in a poor country. I live in Romania, which is technically poor. It's one of the poorest countries in Europe. It's very, very poor. The average wage is like $400 a month. The police drive Dacia Logans. The police drive cars that can't even go above 70 miles an hour. I've never seen a police chase. When the police stop me, I say, why don't people run? We just outrun you. He goes, oh, well, you know, why run when you can just get tickets?
It's funny because my girlfriend actually comes from Romania. She was born in Romania, and some of the things he's saying are correct about the police, etc. So what he's saying here is that there's basically going to be a decline in society, civilization, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to happen over the next 10 years, 20 years. I tend to think that he's telling the truth because I feel like social media, smartphones are possibly one of the worst things that could have ever happened to humanity. It's a great thing. Don't get it twisted. Like the fact that you can watch this right now while you're taking a shit on your mobile phone, get some entertainment, some education, that's amazing. But the Trojan horse effect has been very nefarious. The fact that people's data is being mined, these tools have been used as programming mechanisms. The most potent and powerful programming mechanisms of all time is social media. During the 2020 debacle, you saw all the social medias kind of gang up and push a particular narrative and get the world population to act a particular type of way. You're bombarded with messages over and over and over again, messages I can't even talk about right now. That's how powerful these tools are. So whoever has control of these tools can basically dictate the trajectory of humanity. And if you look at the ads, if you see the messaging that's happening right now, you can see that it's not looking good. It's like all the boundaries are crumbling before our eyes. We mentioned before the whole man-woman thing. No one knows what the hell a man is. No one knows what a woman is. The whole, in the past, there was this idea of having deep, meaningful relationships that's thrown out the window. Everybody's doing OnlyFans. Everybody's shaking their ass. Everybody's getting paid for it. The morality is going out the window as things happen. People start looting. It's going crazy. And I think that's because of mental health issues that are happening. Because of the social media, the programming that's happening that's getting people to go against each other, left versus right, black versus white, Asian versus brown, black, whatever. Everyone is at odds with each other, at conflict. People's mental health is out the door. They're not eating healthy. They're eating a bunch of seed oil, pesticide, fucking bullshit. And it's kind of all cumulating to this endpoint, this climax, this tipping point where she just hits the fan and things are more chaotic. So before that happens, and it's not going to happen at the same time in all different countries. It probably won't happen in most countries, but in certain countries, especially countries such as the United States, Canada, possibly Australia, you're seeing this type of weirdness happening that's never happened before. So what you can do, of course, is what Tate says, is just move to another country. Prepare, get yourself ready, whether that's through equipping yourself with high leverage skills, as I mentioned before, learning to read, having a good network around you, or changing countries, getting resources, just all these things that you can think of. You need to get ready so that you're not in a position like 90% of the population that's going to be like, oh, what the hell do I do when shit hits the fan? You're already seeing it right now. Inflation's through the roof. People complain about gas prices. You need to get yourself ready, work on yourself. Anyway, guys, that concludes my analysis of Andrew Tate. As you can see, I don't have a very black and white kind of answer. He's a complex character, right? I like that he's telling people about the mass programming that's happening and that's happened. I like that he's giving people another avenue besides the traditional, 9-to-5 way of making money. My only downfalls is I feel like his message can get misconstrued when he's talking about, for example, dating and stuff like that. A lot of people are going to take it very literally and think, oh, okay, cool, I'm just going to be a dick to girls and have 7 wives and whatnot and think that that's the way to live. I feel like because he hasn't himself, by the looks of it, had any deep relationship, the level of relationships he can attract at this stage are purely superficial, purely sexual, somewhat trauma bonding, exchange type relationships with other females. And that's okay. People are at different stages and people go through these things. But I feel like young men are not shown the other side. They're not shown what a healthy relationship is. I'm a big fan of monogamy and having a family, being a father, this type of thing. And I feel like his lifestyle in regards to dealing with girls is not congruent with having a family, being a good dad, being there for your children. You can't be there for your children when you have fucking 7 wives, right? You can't be there for your children when you're living with your brother, like what he says. He says he doesn't even want to live with a woman. He wants to live with his brothers and team and be competitive. So his message is very biased towards one direction. He's polarizing on purpose to help him in business and marketing, to help people create these pages where they, are reposting his stuff. He knows how to game the algorithm. But I'm afraid a lot of people are taking some of the stuff he's saying too literally, and some of the other stuff he's saying, especially about the reprogramming, is going over people's minds. So that's my analysis of Andrew Tate. If you like these types of videos, leave a comment below and I will do more on other people, other things, just mixing it up and having fun. This is usually the part when I say do this, and I promise you be one step closer to living and dying well, but I don't have anything for you to do, so peace.